Shakyamuni, Amida, and the Buddhas in the 10 quarters, all with the same mind, are no more apart from sentient beings of the Nembutsu than shadows from things. Hence, it is that Shakyamuni rejoices in persons of Shinjin, saying, "They are my true companions." Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to just kind of jump right into it. Today, I'd like to talk about something very important in Jodo Shinshu, which is the concept of hearing or listening. Oftentimes, people will say, what is the practice of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism? And so the practice is, and you might have heard of this, the answer is to listen to the Buddha Dharma or listening to the Buddha Dharma. And I'd like to kind of explain what we mean by that. What is listening or what is hearing? Today, I'm not going to create too much of a difference between listening and hearing. So I will kind of use the terms interchangeably today. Okay. How many of you in the audience have ever heard of your parents or teachers, an adult saying to you, are you listening to me? All right. Are you listening to me? I say this to my son all the time. Are you listening to me? Right. And usually someone will say this to us when we are not paying attention to what's going on. It's very easy to stop listening to something as soon as you find it to be boring or kind of not worth paying attention to, right? How many of you pay attention to things like the latest Harry Potter movie or I don't know, like some kind of documentary on sharks? I don't like sharks, or documentary on like leopards or something like that. Which one would you choose, right? Or how about if you had to choose between the A's playing or the Tokyo Giants, right? Which one would you watch? Or how about if you choose to listen to your dad, or if you had to choose between listening to your dad explain to you how to change the oil of your car versus listening to Gordon Ramsay explaining how to make a really good cheesecake, right? Which one would you listen to or be willing to listen to more, right? So it's very easy to listen to things that we're interested in, and it's very hard to listen to something we're not interested in or something that doesn't, we don't see too much importance or value in that, right? It's very hard to truly listen to, and Shinran Shonin says it's very hard to listen to absolute truth. Nothing is more difficult than truly listening. So one other point I want to make is about the different ways we can listen, right? Most of the time, we listen or hear things through our ears, right? We hear vibrations through our eardrums. We can pick up on those vibrations, and there we hear different sounds. Some people may be hard of hearing, so they use hearing aids, or that will help them to hear much better. But is that the only way to listen, through our ears? I don't think so, right? Who believes that we can listen through our eyes, or maybe perhaps we can listen through touch, right? Or maybe we can listen through taste or smell, right? When we look up the word listen in the dictionary, it says to give one's attention to sound, take notice of and act on what someone says, make an effort to hear something, urge someone to pay attention. And then when I look up hearing, it says the faculty of perceiving sounds. So hearing or listening doesn't specifically mean to using one's ears, and it means to just pay attention and focus in on something. Hearing and listening then means that we have been triggered to focus on something important. And what is it that we must pay attention to? As you all know, Beethoven, the famous composer, went deaf later in his life and composed musical pieces based on vibrations, right, that he felt from the instruments. So from this example, we know that we can hear or listen based on the sense of touch. But I actually think there is more to hearing and listening than just the senses. We can also hear or listen with our hearts. And this is what I believe Beethoven did with his music. He listened to his heart and expressed what he felt in his heart. When you listen with your heart, a whole new world opens up to you. Music becomes very moving. You feel the emotion behind the song, right? The book or novel that you read, you will feel like you're a character in the story, right? In the movie that you watch, you feel again like a character in the movie. You know, you now have a role in this movie that you are watching when you're very absorbed into this movie. All of these things will start to become clear when you listen with your heart. And the more we train ourselves to listen in this way, the more we start to see that the world around us is actually trying to say many things to us. One of the easiest examples that can help to portray this is music, right? When we hear music, it can impact us in so many different ways. They say that when you listen to music, when you work out, you can increase your performance by up to 15%. I read an article somewhere that said that 15% just by listening to music that fits that mood, right? So music has a big impact. The other day I was listening to what's that Japanese song, Hanagasaku. And that song was composed after the great disaster in eastern Japan, right, where a lot of people have died through that earthquake. And so that song is very moving to hear that. As soon as I hear that melody, I get kind of sad, right? And so the music is it's very powerful in that way. In Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, we emphasize listening or hearing with our hearts. For example, there is a term that we go by, and it's called, in Japanese, it says mon soku shin, mon soku shin. And in Japanese, it's 聞くことがそのまま信心であり、門の他に心はないというのです。Okay? So, which means that hearing is entrusting, as we read in Nenya Shonin's reading just now. There is nothing outside of entrusting in true hearing. So the motto is hearing is entrusting. There's a lot of meaning packed into this small little phrase, but basically what this means is that when we are truly made to hear the voice of the world of truth, the world of the Buddha Dharma, or the calling voice of Amida Buddha, then we instantly, at that moment, awaken to the world of truth. Right? We now know there is a world greater than just our egocentric selves, and we automatically entrust ourselves to this world that embraces us just as we are. And this is the meaning of Mon Soku Shin. Hearing is entrusting. But we don't hear just with our ears, as I've been mentioning. Rather, we hear with our hearts and minds as well. In other words, with our whole being, we hear. Jodo Shinshu Buddhism tries to teach us how to hear or listen with our hearts. The universe and beyond, the world of absolute truth, is speaking to us all the time. We just don't take the time to listen to it because we don't think we need it. We don't think that it's important, but we do actually. It is the only thing that lets us know that we are going to be okay even after this life. It is the only principle that lets us know the depths of loneliness and hopelessness, that even despite those things, we are never abandoned by truth. It is the only thing that lets us know that this life that we live is always embraced in universal truth of clarity and warmth, of infinite light and life, of infinite wisdom and compassion, as we call it in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. In the larger sutra, one of the central texts of our school of Buddhism, it explains that Amida Buddha is both infinite light and life. What does that mean exactly, right? Muryo kobutsu, muryo jubutsu, right? And these are features of the Buddha. But these features of the Buddha is not to say that Amida Buddha is some kind of God or some kind of deity, right? It's not that at all, actually. Amida and the Pure Land are symbols of absolute truth. We then personify that as a Buddha, as the Pure Land, in order for us to understand what that truth is, okay? So Amida Buddha is not a God or a deity, okay? And so we have to be made aware of this principle of truth, which we call the Dharma. And what makes us aware of this principle of truth, you might ask? It is the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu. When we say Namo Amida Butsu, we access this world of truth. So I'd like to focus on what this Amida Buddha of infinite light is. I'd like to kind of give you an example here. You guys all see this? Okay, so There is a difference between, I've mentioned this before, but it's a very good example. The difference between life with a capital case L and life with a lowercase l, okay? Life with a lowercase l is us, the bombu. It's the person with attachments, and we are the center of our world, the center of our kind of bubble that we know, right? And each sentient being believes this, right? But actually, each individual is embraced in great life, great life. And this is the principle, the Dharma, the truth, absolute truth that embraces all beings, great life with a capital case L, right? And this is Muryo-ju, infinite life, right? And we call that Amida Buddha, right? We personify that as Amida Buddha. So each little life with a lowercase l is embraced in the great life with a capital case L. And that is our relationship to Amida Buddha. Amida Buddha, again, is not a deity. It is the principle of truth that we are embraced within, okay? So that's the example of great life versus life. And so great life is always trying to reach out to us and speak to us in many different ways. It is trying to let us know that we are always embraced just as we are, and that there is nothing for us to worry about. When we say the phrase Namo Amida Butsu, this is not just some string of words that someone put together thousands of years ago. This phrase is very special because it is the world of truth speaking out to us and reaching out to us. Over time, when we open our hearts to the Buddha Dharma and see the truth in this teaching, that is when we start to hear the voice of true reality speaking to us, telling us that we will be okay just as we are. When you hear the chanting today, the singing of the Gatha, the Dharma talk, these are all ways in which the world of Amida Buddha is trying to connect to us and tell us that we are not alone. So listening and hearing is very hard to do, but once we come to listen and hear with our hearts, we will start to see a new worldview that will open itself up and reveal itself to us. I'd like to show you something that might help you to remember what I'm trying to talk about today. You know the word heart, okay? There's the word heart. You can't spell that word without the word here, okay? Here. So here is in the word heart, right? And so what does that mean? Our heart, it means then that our hearts must learn to hear. What do we hear for? What do we listen for, you might ask? We hear and listen for the heart of Amida Buddha's great compassion. When we receive this, our hearts become one with the heart of absolute truth, the heart of Amida Buddha's great compassion. This is Shinjin. This is entrustment. Shinjin is the door to the world of deep and profound truth that embraces us just as we are. So within heart, there is here, okay? And please remember that that is the kind of main point that I wanted to make today. So with that, I would like to end today's message. Thank you very much. Please join me in Gassho. Shakyamuni, Amida, and the Buddhas in the 10 quarters, all with the same mind, are no more apart from sentient beings of the Nembutsu than shadows from things. Hence it is that Shakyamuni rejoices in persons of Shinjin, saying, they are my true companions. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Naman Nas Naman Nas Naman.